So South Africa wanted to host the World Championships in Plettenberg Bay. This was 1979. Well, I'm just a junior in college, but I know if I can go down there and win that World Championship, I'm going to sell a hell of a lot of books. So I was, to some extent, like a professional sailor in a way. And I remember flying to South Africa as a very young man and on the plane with Hobie himself. And I won those World Championships. And my picture was on the cover of the Cape Times, right? This long-haired surfer dude, I had this white bleached surfer, you know, and there's my picture in the Cape Times. I thought that was really pretty amazing. It was quite an experience. The Minister of Sport at the time gave me a letter that said that I was a guest and I could travel around South Africa. So what am I going to do? Well, I rented a car with a couple of mates and we decided to drive all over South Africa. And this is where South Africa really changed my life. I drove through what they called the Transvaal. And I saw appalling racism. And I was with other college friends, and they were saying, this is horrible, this is, you know, we're so enlightened in America, we're all from California. And I said, listen, you guys, you need to understand something. We're looking at a time capsule of America 50 years ago, okay? You need to recognize that the march for justice, the march for freedom, the march for tolerance is an ongoing struggle. And I'm here in Maryland, which is the capital of the United States in the early years. And I don't know if I'm pointing in the right direction, but if you look over to the eastern shore of the Chesapeake Bay, these were all plantations, okay? And there was an American slave named Frederick Douglass who wrote an amazing book about his life under slavery, the most appalling life under slavery. But he had a very fortunate event occur in his life. His master sent him to Baltimore, 20 miles from here, and his wife took pity on this young boy, but her big thing was she wanted to convert him to Christianity. He was a heathen, right? She made a huge mistake. She taught him how to read. She taught him how to read. And that young man started reading, and he started reading, and he became a really, really amazingly intelligent person, and he fought his way to freedom. And he ended up being instrumental in convincing Abraham Lincoln to sign the Emancipation Proclamation. And my love of South Africa is tied to my love of Mandela. Because I was in South Africa as a young man under apartheid. I won those world championships under an apartheid government. And I wasn't racially aware or racially conscious at that age. But being in South Africa and seeing all that changed my life. I ended up studying race and tolerance and those issues, and it's become a really big, important part of my life. And hilariously enough, I suppose, my son is getting a PhD right now in the philosophy of race in New York City and teaching in that subject. And so South Africa, the Rainbow Nation, is something I really care about. And when I'm in South Africa and I'm watching everybody work and I'm seeing the teams that we have together, blacks and whites and all these people working together, that is a dream of hope. The South African is a dream of hope. It's a dream of equality. It's a dream of people living together, pulling together, working together. And let me tell you something, I feel a huge load of responsibility to keep selling these damn boats. Because I love seeing these people working, and I like seeing South Africa growing, because it's an extraordinary country. And I tell people, I'm never tired of going to South Africa. I go to South Africa, the food, the dance, the culture, the rhythms, the soul of South Africa is huge. The art scene in South Africa, the contemporary art scene in South Africa is amazing, what's going on. Like, you can spend a day in Johannesburg going to art galleries and you see this is a country that has a lot of vitality. And look, is it a struggle? Yeah, it's a struggle. It's always a struggle. We're still struggling in America to achieve this righteous nation of tolerance. The thing about the United States, though, is we always had this crazy document called the Constitution. And it started out with the lines that all men are created equal. All men are created equal. And that has always been the touchstone that drove African Americans to fight for freedom, to fight for justice. So you look at Mandela, he looked to Martin Luther King, he looked to Frederick Douglass, he looks to Gandhi, and nonviolent. What he did in South Africa is a miracle to have transformed that nation. And I had the wonderful pleasure of being invited by your embassy to listen to Cyril Ramaphosa, current president of South Africa, when he gave a delivery to the United Nations. And I looked at him and I said, man, you got a tough job, buddy. He has a tough job. It's a tough job, but he's doing a good job. He cares. And the support that we get from you is amazing to me. And I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for the care and consideration that you give to the South African boat building community. And I look around this room and I think of all my South African friends. Kevin, you sold your first boat with me 20 years ago, right? He sailed over here, a scraggly guy, and built his first boat, and Rudy, and you know, we're all, and Duncan, by the way, was an absolutely lovely man. I knew him very well, and his passing was a very, very sad thing. Duncan was the classic South African. You know, the statement they have, "Boer maak 'n plan." This was a farmer that made a plan. And this was a farmer that did everything himself. You know, even in his 70s, he'd come to these boat shows and he had to wax his own boat. You know, this was a guy that just rolled up his sleeves and did his thing. And that energy in South Africa is really quite extraordinary. So I just want to say that I'm honored to be building in South Africa. I love traveling there, and I really appreciate the government and all the support that you give us. And to any of you that haven't visited South Africa, what a country. I'm telling you, when the air comes up onto the Cape, it's been purified all the way up from the bottom of the world. You could bottle it, as Andrew joined me down there, and he said, if you could bottle it, you could sell it. The air is so clear and so beautiful. The fish, the food, the rhythms. So you go to Cape Town, and if you go out and listen to music, you are absolutely going to love it. So, what is this that you put in? Does this say stop? In any event, to all of my fellow boat builders, we are all together in the same industry. We're pulling together. We help each other. We are joined at the hip in South African boat building. But by the way, Mark Delaney, I'm honored to be here with Mark Delaney, who's building the Balance 482 in Cape Town. Mark employs over 300 people in Cape Town. And he's a second-generation boat builder. And by the way, speaking of investment, so you know, on the walk over here together, Mark said, Phil, why don't we build a boat together and own it together? And I said, you know, Mark, that may be a good idea. So we'll be investing in South Africa. I promise you, Ambassador. Thank you very much.